Hello YouTube and welcome back. My name is Zadarkus, and in today's video I wanted to talk about the cognitive benefits of playing video games based on a research that shows that video game play improves basic mental abilities. In this research there were used two strategies, correlational and experimental. In the correlational study, regular gamers are compared on some perceptual or cognitive test with otherwise comparable people who do not play video games. The typical finding is that the gamers outperform the non-gamers on whatever test it is used. This suggests that gaming is a cause to better performance, but doesn't prove it, because it is possible that people who choose to play video games are those who already have superior perceptual and cognitive abilities. The best proof that video gaming improves these abilities comes from experiments in which all of the participants are initially non-gamers, and then some, but not others, are asked to play a particular video game for a certain number of hours per day, for a certain number of days for the sake of the experiment. In these experiments, the typical finding is that those who play video games improve on measure of basic perceptual and cognitive abilities, while those in the control group do not. In what follows, I'll simply list some of the findings that have come from this sort of research, all of which are summarized in the article by Eichenbaum and his colleagues. The reference I cite from each finding is to the original research report. First, we have improvements in basic visual processes, like improvement on the visual contrast sensitivity. 50 hours of action video game play spread over 10 to 12 weeks improved visual contrast sensitivity, which is the ability to distinguish subtle difference in shades of grey compared to the ones that didn't play the game. It also shown as a successful treatment of amblyopia. Amblyopia, also called the lazy eye, is a disorder arising from the early childhood in which one eye becomes essentially non-functional, and Lee with her colleagues performed experiments in which some adults with the disorder played action video games using only the bad eye, with the good eye covered. Other adults with the disorder did other things instead of playing video games, also with the good eye covered, just using the bad eye, like watching television or knitting. The result was that those in gaming conditions showed greater improvement, often to normal or near normal functioning, while those in the other conditions did not. Many in the gaming conditions developed a 20/20 vision or better in previously lazy eye, also visual attention and stereoscopic vision, which is the ability to coordinate input from the two eyes to see depth. These were restored to normal. Then we also have improvements in attention and vigilance, like improved spatial attention. Green and Bavelier found that action video gaming improved performance on the ability to locate quickly a target stimulus in a field of distractors, a test that has been found to be good in predictor of driving ability. It also improved the ability to track moving objects in a field of distractors. Action video games improve the ability of children and adults to keep track of a set of moving objects that were visually identical to the other moving objects in the visual field. It also reduces impulsiveness. Action video games improve the performance in a test of the ability to refrain from responding to a non-target stimuli, in a situation in which most stimuli called for a response but an occasional stimulus called for no response. And also overcoming dyslexia. Dyslexia, in at least some cases, seems to derive from problems of visual attention. One study showed that as few as 12 hours of video game play improved dyslexia's children's scores on tests of reading and phonology. In fact, the improvement was as great or greater than the achieved by training programs that were explicitly designed to treat dyslexia. Then we have improvements in executive functioning. Executive functioning refers to a person's ability to allot his or her mental resources, such as perception, attention, memory, in ways that allow for rapid, efficient problem solving or decision making. Many experiments have shown positive effects of video game training on measures of executive functioning. Here are two examples. The improved ability to engage in multiple tasks simultaneously. Chiappe and colleagues found that 50 hours of experience on an action video game did improve the performance on a test called the Multi-Attribute Task Battery, which is modeled after skills required in piloting aircraft. It involved using a joystick to keep a target centered on the screen, monitoring the fuel levels, responding to lights on an instrumental panel, and listening and responding to radio communication. High scores on the test were correlated with the real-life piloting performance. Also, the increase of the mental flexibility. A number of researchers have shown that the experience with action video games improve a people's ability to switch rapidly and without error between tasks that have conflicting demands. And then we got reversing mental decline that comes with aging. Cognitive flexibility, attention, working, and the memory with some abstract reasoning all tend to decline with age. Many experiments with the elderly participants show that the video game play results in improvement in all of these abilities. One study found that such play led to not just cognitive improvements but also to better self-concept and enhanced qualities of life in the elderly participants. In the end, we have improvements in job-related skills. Many studies indicate that video games improve job performance, especially for jobs that require good eye and hand coordination, attention, excellent working memory, and quick decision making. One study, for example, demonstrated that video gamers were better than non-gamers in the ability to fly and land drones, and were essentially as good as trained pilots on the skill. Another study revealed that young, inexperienced surgeons who were also avid to video games outperformed the most experienced surgeons in their field. In an experiment, novice surgeons who were provided with experience with video games improved their performance in a laparoscopic surgery compared with a control group of surgeons who did not have the experience. To cognitive scientists, such research on effects of video games is fascinating in the part because it demonstrates that the brain is far more moldable throughout a person's life than it was previously believed. Until fairly recently, most psychologists believed that the basic building blocks of intelligence were rather rigidly set by your genes. But the research summarized here, coupled with more other research, indicates that this is not true. It's interesting to note that video games appear to build these components of intelligence faster than any other intervention anyone has ever advised. If you are a parent who has been limiting your child's computer play because of the claims you have read of a harmful effect of video games, the research summarized here and in previous videos I even created, the bulk of the research suggests that the claims about negative effects of video games are largely just myths and the positive effects are real. As children know in their bones, the kinds of mental skills that video games help to develop are among the skills that are increasingly more important in today's world. Now I want to ask you, what are your thoughts about this, and do you have any questions about it? What experience do you or your children have with video games? Have you noticed in real life something to be compared to your video games performance? Let me know what you think, let me know if you find this interesting, if it helped you. You know, my name is Zadarkus, this video was made for you, and I hope you guys stay awesome. All the references are in the description. I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll be back pretty soon with a new one. See ya!